Trump wanted to overturn the results despite knowing within days of the election that he had lost. That's in the report. Quote, in the days after the election, the president's own campaign team told him that he had lost and there was no evidence of significant fraud. Trump didn't listen, and instead he executed on a plan. He and his team were going to deny that he'd lost and instead say the election was stolen. Former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson told the committee that at the helm of that effort was her boss, former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, who was under constant pressure from Trump to figure something out. This is what she testified. Mark was just kind of trying to tell Trump, well, sir, like, we have other options. We're still looking at other things. Don't worry. Like, we're going to figure this out. This here, how to steal the election. And the president said something to the effect of, I don't want people to know we lost, Mark. This is embarrassing. Figure it out. We need to figure it out. I don't want people to know that we lost. Even after the election was certified on January 6th, Trump still didn't want people to know that he had lost. The committee has video of the former president saying that much on January 7th as he was rehearsing a speech condemning the previous day's attack on the Capitol.
I don't want to say the election is over. I just want to say Congress has certified the results without saying the election's over, okay?
This is the big lie at play, one that included outlandish theories about fake ballots and dead voters. And each and every one of those instances, Trump and his team knew there was nothing to these ideas, nothing but fraud. Here's an example of that from a conversation between Mark Meadows and then White House lawyer Eric Hirschman on December 3rd, which was, of course, well before the storming of the Capitol. Quote, Hirschman, just an FYI, former Trump campaign lawyer Alex Cannon and his team verified that the 10,000 plus supposed dead people voting in Georgia is not accurate. Meadows, I didn't hear that claim. It's not accurate. I think I found 22, if I remember correctly. 2 of them died just days before the general election. Hirschman, it was alleged in Rudy Giuliani's hearing today. Your number is much closer to what we can prove. I think it's 12. Meadows, my son found 12 obituaries and 6 other possibles, depending on the voter roll accuracy. Hirschman, that sounds more like it. Maybe he can help Rudy find the other 10,000? Meadows, LOL. When the claims of dead voters didn't pan out, Trump elevated conspiracy theories about Dominion voting machines. That idea came from lawyer Sidney Powell, who falsely claimed the company's software was created in Venezuela at the direction of Hugo Chavez to make sure the socialist leader never lost an election. When Powell told Trump about this conspiracy theory during a phone call, Trump laughed, literally. While she was speaking, the president muted his speakerphone and laughed at Powell, telling the others in the room, this does sound crazy, doesn't it? A few days later, the Trump campaign issued a statement claiming Powell was not part of the Trump campaign's legal team. But the lie itself, that survived. According to the committee, Trump tweeted and retweeted more than 30 false claims about the Dominion machines. And he did the same with every other crazy theory that was thrown at him, with devastating consequences. The January 6th report concludes that all of these lies motivated Trump supporters to attack the U.S. Capitol. And if there is someone to blame in all of this, that man is quite clearly former President Donald J. Trump.